There is a moment in your life you don't remember, but it changed everything. A moment when you stopped being you and became the version of yourself that the world demanded. It's never dramatic, it's never loud, there is no warning. It happens in a split second. One tiny decision that rewrites the rest of your life without you even noticing. And at that moment, it happens to everyone. Maybe it was the first time you hid a part of yourself to avoid being judged. Just a tiny compromise, nothing serious. You thought it didn't matter. Except, that was the day you learned that being yourself was unsafe. So you adjusted, just a little, and the world rewarded you for the lie. So you adjusted again, and again, and again. Until one day, you became a stranger to your own soul. Not because of trauma, not because of failure, not because of sadness, but because of 1,000 silent moments where you abandoned yourself without realizing it. That's the horror. People don't lose themselves all at once. They lose themselves moment by moment, choice by choice, adjustment by adjustment. You're not living someone else's life, no. You're living the life built by every version of you that didn't feel safe to be authentic. The scariest part, you didn't notice the moment it happened. But you do feel the symptoms. The constant emptiness, the quiet resentment, the unexplained sadness, the numbness, the fake smiles, the tiredness that sleep can't fix, the feeling of watching your life from outside your body. Every symptom points to the same truth: you have been gone for a long time. And now you're here, trying to find a person you don't remember losing. That's the most terrifying realization a human can have. Not death, not failure, not heartbreak, but waking up and realizing you haven't been yourself in years. And the worst part is, you don't know how to come back. Because you don't remember who you were before all this. You only know the version of yourself that learned to survive, to behave, to adjust, to stay quiet, to fit in. You don't remember the moment you changed, but you remember the weight of the life that followed. Sometimes you wonder if the real you is still in there somewhere, buried under years of pleasing, pretending, shrinking, hiding and performing. A ghost version of yourself you abandoned because the world told you someone else was easier to love. That's why everything feels off. Why nothing feels real. Why happiness feels foreign. Why peace feels unreachable. Why reflection feels like a stranger. Why even your own voice in your head doesn't sound like yours anymore. Because you aren't living your life, you're living the after effects of a moment you didn't see happening. You don't need a map, you need a memory of who you were before the world convinced you to become someone else. But that version of you isn't loud enough to find, not anymore. So now you sit with a terrifying question: if I'm not this person and I don't remember who I was, then who am I supposed to be now? A question with no answer, a wound with no name. A grief for yourself you lost quietly, slowly, silently, long before you even knew you were disappearing. And maybe that's what scares you the most. The realization that the person you have become was never a conscious choice. You drifted into this version of yourself the way a ship drifts into a fog, slowly, quietly, without noticing how far you have gone from where you started. You look back now and the past feels blurry, like it belonged to someone else. You can't tell which memories were real and which ones were you acting, playing the character everyone preferred over the person you actually were. Some nights you try to trace the moment you changed, but you can't. Because it wasn't one moment, it was hundreds, thousands. All the days you didn't speak up, all the days you silenced your own heart to make someone else more comfortable. And slowly the world stopped asking who you were. It only asked what you could be for them. A friend, a helper, a listener, a worker, a placeholder, a role, never a person. It's painful to realize you became easier to handle only by becoming less yourself. Less honest, less bold, less alive. A quiet version of a life that once wanted to scream. You didn't become someone else in one day. You dissolved like a photo left in the sun too long, slowly fading until you don't recognize the face anymore and you don't know how long it's been disappearing. And now when people look at you, they see the version you have built for survival, not the version that once dreamed or hoped or wanted anything real. They only know the character and they have forgotten you ever had a soul behind it. You start to wonder if the real you would even recognize you anymore, if they'd be proud or disappointed or heartbroken or confused by the life you're pretending is yours. There's a quiet grief in knowing you have outgrown the person you used to be, but you have also outgrown the person you became. You were stuck between who you were and who you pretended to be, with no clue who is left underneath. And maybe that's the real tragedy. You can't go back to who you were and you can't stay who you are. You're suspended in the middle of a life that feels misplaced, borrowed, uncomfortable, trying to remember the version of yourself you lost without ever noticing.